Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Kitty, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Events for Chicago Innovation, an organization that educates, connects, and celebrates local innovative companies, cutting across industries, big and small, for-profits and nonprofits through a series of events and programs. We're also a proud partner and customer of Wintrust. On behalf of Wintrust, I'd like to welcome you all to today's event, Virtual Networking for Business. We have a great speaker leading today's discussion. But before we meet him, I'd like to let everyone know that if you have a question during the presentation, you can send it to us via the Zoom Q&A function anytime during the event, so our speaker can see what's on your mind and try to respond towards the end. Now, I'd like to hand the Zoom mic over to Steve Malota, a Senior Vice President with Wintrust's Lake Forest Bank and Trust Bank Charter, who heads up their business and community banking teams. Steve works with companies in all industries, ranging from startups to those with up to 15 million in revenue. He's been with Wintrust for 19 years and brings over 30 years of commercial banking experience to his customers. Please welcome Steve Malota.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning, everyone, and happy St. Patrick's Day. We're happy to have you with us today for this month's webinar in our ongoing business banking series, and we'd like to thank Chicago Innovation for helping us bring today's program to you. As Paul mentioned, our topic today is virtual networking for business. This is obviously very timely in today's world, and we think it will continue to be so in the post-pandemic environment as we all struggle to develop new clients and build relationships. Some of the topics that will be covered in today's webinar are navigating new online communication platforms, connecting with your network online, and building relationships and trust virtually. Our expert presenter today is Eddie Soto. Eddie is the director of the Lake County Tech Hub and Business Incubator located in Waukegan. The mission of the Tech Hub is to support entrepreneurship and business development in Lake County. Prior to his work at the Hub, Eddie spent 11 years at the Small Business Development Center at the College of Lake County, where he assisted more than 400 businesses to achieve their potential. And he has over 14 years of experience as a consultant, advisor, mentor to students, startups, inventors, and entrepreneurs. Eddie also is an entrepreneur in his own right, having owned several successful businesses, including ES Online Enterprises, a global branding and communications agency that he founded in 2005. Eddie will, as Paul mentioned, Eddie will leave time at the end of his presentation, so please use the Q&A function to submit any questions that you may have, and keep your eyes out for poll questions throughout the presentation. And now I'll turn the program over to Eddie.
Good morning, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning to share with you my thoughts in the world of video networking. I also share my wishes for a happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. And I'm grateful to be here and appreciate Steve Malota's introduction. Thank you so much for that. And Wintrust hosting this event for the benefit of our community. So with that, I'm also grateful for the Greater Waukegan Development Coalition, whom we're partnered with here at the Lake County Tech Hub in Waukegan, and look forward to continuing our work for the, just for serving our community. So with that, let's get into this. Hope everyone can see our screen. Please take notes, and for any questions that come up, again, as Paul mentioned, please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A section of the Zoom room and or in the chat. If we get them today, that'd be awesome. If not, please provide an email address so that we can directly respond to your questions. This morning, I'm going to talk about video networking, not just the marketing component, but actually creating the leads needed to succeed in creating and building and successfully growing a marketing a network for your online business connections. It's a new world out there. We're living in one that is increasingly relying on video screens, webcams, and digital platforms. This slide captures the essence of the desired results of participating in this realm. Doing it right results in smiles, success, and developing new connections and building new bridges, and also attaining new opportunities. It's a dynamic and powerful time we're living in. If we embrace this exciting technology, we should want to be talking about these things, not just this morning, but frequently. This is a group that I put together about a year ago toward the beginning of the pandemic, Lake County Tech Hub Business Group. And as you see by those expressions, that's the desired results of putting together a virtual networking group, connecting with folks that are like-minded, and exploring the best ways to help each other grow. The agenda for today includes navigating the new online platforms. And as you see, we have a lot that we want to cover in about 40 minutes. So hopefully your pens and paper are out for taking questions or during this presentation. At the end, we will have time for questions. This is a representation that's taken place millions of times during the pandemic, with all the quarantine mandates in place, requiring a virtual manner to connect instead of in real-life meetings. Many have taken steps to firming their grasp on utilizing these means of collaboration and communication. This chart shows the platforms that showed prolific growth during this past pandemic era. Impressive numbers from users seeking those destinations that their peers and customers were using. As seen, some of these virtual network tools really took off because of the early success in delivering what was needed for a remote work from home workforce. We know Zoom, which a lot of us are familiar with, and the 5,000+% growth in search for Netflix party and almost 3,000% increase in search for house party. Who knew the demand for these platforms would be so exponentially high? Google Hangouts is in there, GoToMeeting, Blue Jeans. We're going to touch on those platforms a little bit more in detail. And as you see, there are some familiar names and some names that are not as familiar in this survey. Some examples of newer online platforms are seen below. These are just 12 out of dozens that are in existence. A lot of them sprouted up during the pandemic era just based on need. So Zoom, we see Microsoft Teams is very popular. Blue Jeans on the educational front, high schools and colleges use that platform extensively. And a lot of these platforms also have improved their online streaming conferencing services to meet the demand. So it's good to be familiar with one or more. We'll also spend time later in the presentation talking about hosting, not just participating. So there'll be several slides talking about tips and tricks and pointers on hosting these types of events and not relying on just one platform, because there is such a thing as glitches that do occur. And you want to be able to adapt and take a group from one location to another at a moment's notice. As we connect the why even talk about virtual networking? We see companies, 3 examples are shown here, that quickly raise their presence and awareness to the benefit and value of the services offered to a remote consumer through virtual networking. DoorDash stepped up early in the food delivery realm, using mobile ordering for the convenience, not just the convenience, based on meeting the demand at a time when the government mandates were in place, strictly limiting the ability to travel to and fro. Uber and Uber Eats also stepped up to make their virtual platform user-friendly when most needed. And Zoom answered the bell like few others, especially in the early stages of the pandemic. Bridges were built at times when they were desperately needed using the Zoom platform. Also to note, many lost their jobs during the pandemic, so these companies offered opportunities to earn money during critical times. So using their services was a way to show gratitude during trying times, and again today. A lot of spin-offs took place studying the way Zoom set up their platform. A Forrester research report conducted earlier this year showed that corporations were recognizing the need to invest in virtual networks and the staffing to support these networks and the software to create, educate, and share their message across these platforms, thus acquiring existing and new leads from customers placing orders through e-commerce stores and online shops. They're projecting over 30% of the budget for marketing will be spent in virtual network channels, and both external and internal. Virtually connecting, again, we're in the neighborhood of the why for this presentation. Along the lines with this same Forrester research report, demand dictate brands invest in strategic content to provide three key things the work from home remote customers are looking for, which are information, education, and entertainment. When theaters, restaurants, and stores close to the public, this became a focal point of user experience and customer experience, which led to satisfaction ratings that some stores still enjoy today. A lot of folks were feeling their walls closing in and needing an outlet. And a lot of these services were stepping up and we'll talk a little more about some of those services that met the need at a time when it was critical for us to increase our communication with each other. Based on the same report from Forrester, an increased number of United States customers were already trying out virtual network channels to communicate with their constituents. By the end of 2020, over 30% will have tried some form of virtual communication. I thought that number would be higher, but again, we're met with software limitations, hardware limitations, training, and some sectors of society that were just not up to speed on reaching out in a digital manner. So we presently see an additional influx of users entering into this realm of online information exchange through the restrictions. Though the restrictions have been easing, many are still with reservation to fully re-entering the public space. So new reports predict that this could go deep into 2022, despite the increases of COVID-19 vaccine access. So in 2021, another 15 to 20% will have experimented with and expanded into this realm of communication. Continuing to show examples connecting the why by way of larger home shopping online cable channels. We see that widespread news reports and surveys show that even after the pandemic eases, many business managers expect a substantial number of their staff continuing to work from home or from a remote location away from the office. We also see that over 50% of surveyed employees say they would prefer remaining offsite and working from home. I wasn't sure those numbers would be that high, but when you think about it, the relationship between the convenience of having a home office and having access to your family and your loved ones, and also babysitting your own pets instead of dropping them off at the kennel, makes a lot of sense for many. And through the experience of the last year, many folks embraced that convenience. Thus, the importance on embracing virtual networking, the tools, the platform, and the best way to use these services. Continuing to show these examples also by way of larger home shopping online cable channels showing growth during the pandemic. These platforms were already established and had a proven model that was easy to use by consumers. You see some samples in the home shopping realm. Amazon, as many know, exponentially grew during the pandemic era. They improved their delivery mechanisms and also the ease of shopping and the timeliness of deliveries. These platforms on the left blaze a trail that many e-commerce startups opening for businesses followed. We also see examples in the virtual learning space of online services and platforms that replaced the loss of on-campus learning and after-school and evening adult classes. Programming online contests and competitions and in real-life events such as parades and holiday celebrations took to a creative platform for a remote experience that many were desiring and needing. One that came to mind was a parade that a lot of local businesses participated in. It was a shoebox type of platform our local Main Street put together that was very clever and very well received. So using an online platform in the virtual space made this possible, and the feedback was very positive, and it just generated some awareness to the brands that were not open at the time or that were limiting their access to the public. And it was also a really nice way for people to remain in touch, which at the end of the day is the purpose behind virtual networking, is to not lose all the work that you put together to create your customer base, but also entertain new leads that, due to necessity, may be looking for your products and your services. Forbes Tech Council put together a survey, and this report talks primarily about the virtual data that's been generated through the course of the last year. And it talked primarily about using virtual means to deliver information to be attached to business reports, to market research, customer relations management files, and email marketing, which for a while was taking a hit due to the proliferation of social media and that method of communication. So email marketing actually was a benefiter of the pandemic era. Virtual data, instead of receiving a folder or files delivered by an in-office employee just down the hall, this became a convenient way to make sure that information was exchanged in a timely manner. Survey question number 1, if we could, please. This is in reference, and I'm going to run this back really quickly to, if I can, from those 12 platforms that we had discussed earlier, including Zoom, including GoToMeeting, WebEx, Microsoft Teams, Google Meets. How many of those do you recognize? Pretty good, actually. 4 to 7. That's a decent amount. If you're in the 8 to 12 realm, you're rock stars. And 3% answered, what are these? Those are the folks that need to pay a visit to the Tech Hub and connect with me so we can spend some time reviewing these platforms. But I appreciate you sharing your thoughts behind that question. So we're looking at a slide here. Remaining in your network's radar is vital to success. This is one of the banners that we use on the Lake County Tech Hub website. And as you see, we offer a lot of services face-to-face in real life. We have numerous services that we were able to take to a digital platform based on the fact that our website was updated during the pandemic era to meet the demand. Our social media channels also increased their activities to basically deliver business consulting, meetups, resource introductions, and directions to attaining these services. We had a vaccine testing station on Genesee Street, just south of here. And initially, not many people knew how to get there or were confused as to the process. So because of links that we were able to share on our website, we were able to provide additional information and directions on how best to set up an appointment for the initial testing and subsequently for the actual vaccine locations offering the vaccines. Seminars became webinars. And our incubation and co-working participants also went virtual to remain in touch and not fall behind in development. The wise ones were the ones that always kept in touch and stayed in communication with their resources, from the education sector, from their employers, from industry peers. So this was a really good way to participate in these platforms. I'm stuck. I'm sorry, my PowerPoint is frozen. I want to segue into the hosting aspect of virtual networking. See if I can get this PowerPoint to cooperate here. Let's try this. Here we go. Sorry about that, folks. So we segue from participants to hosting virtual networking events. Hopefully everyone can see my slide. When hosting an online event, you want to select. Yep,
Eddie,
sorry.
I'm not seeing the screen share quite yet.
Okay, hang on. Thank you for pointing that out to me. Let's go back here and let's go back here. Okay, thank you for that. Froze on me for a moment. I wasn't able to advance the slides. Let's hope that fixed it. Yep, okay.
There we go. Looks good.
All right, appreciate that. Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, it's a good thing to play with the buttons and become familiar with these platforms, because as you just saw in real life, the ability to address glitches and challenges by familiarity and having awesome assistance in the background, thank you, always helps. We segue from participants to hosting virtual networking events. When hosting an online event, you want to select the right channel based on audience size, length of event, and your budget. Your goal and desired outcome play a role here. Online platforms such as Quora, Haro, which is help a reporter out, and LinkedIn help you connect with your desired network. Using the right keywords to describe you, your service, your offer, it attracts conversations, which develops new leads. So obviously you want to treat an online relationship as in real life relationship. Don't start right off the bat with a sales pitch. Just get to know the folks that you're connecting with. Take them from acquaintances to friends, and then friends to customers. Know your numbers. As a host, keeping your meeting length to a manageable time is important here, because it's very easy to challenge the attention span of a human. Imagine being on the phone for 45 minutes, the ears start to get a little warm, don't they? So same thing online. There is a thing such as video burnout. So A tested and true manageable time for an online meeting is 45 to 60 minutes. I know many like to brag that they've been on 3 or 4 hours and an amazing conference and all, but allow breaks, allow folks to grab a glass of water, check their messages, make connections with other attendees in the event. These are all really good things to keep in mind as you get into hosting these types of events. Lead by example how you want everyone to interact. Reciprocity is the key to success in building your network and deepening these connections. How you help them should be a focal point, as well as with introductions and making them into connections. Holding firm to stop time is also key. Don't drag it. You don't need to. And also with introductions, the host should always introduce themselves first, because basically that will dictate to everyone else in the room how formal or informal the event is going to be. So be mindful to your group as well. Make deeper connections. Sometimes ask the tough questions. It stimulates conversation, and sometimes it'll open up to an issue that's percolating that needs attention within your group. Always be polite and respectful. That's a key to keeping folks in your network. Bring out interesting items for discussion. Be current, be creative, especially when talking about a unique product or service. Troubleshooting, masterminding, brainstorming sessions are awesome, especially in real life, but there's a certain amount of energy in the room that can be maintained as long as everyone's encouraged to participate and everyone feels like they're being heard. I have a slide talking about some do's and some don'ts here. To really connect with a virtual network takes research and preparation. Establishing connections is rewarding when all participants feel they're gaining equally from the exchange. Encourage exploring common ground through discussing interests and hobbies. Expressing gratitude, especially with personalized thank you notes. That never goes out of style. Bring a positive attitude. It is contagious. You remember that slide early on with all those smiley faces? That's what you're looking for. Here are a few don'ts. Be professional, even with something as important as your online username. Nothing derogatory or insulting should be considered. Ask for pajamas. How many of us have seen those videos? If you're a pajama salesman, then it's perfectly fine to wear your pajamas. Otherwise, dress for respect. The new online world is an international one as well. Be mindful of time zone differences when scheduling virtual network meetings. Be sensitive to that, especially in the virtual networking world. Our audience is no longer our city, our county, or our state, or our own nation. So be mindful of that when you're scheduling your sessions. Building relationships and trust online is pretty important here. The first impression is also key. Spend time, pay attention to the lighting, focal tone, camera angle, and background. And also take notes on how others host and how presenters handle technical issues, like we just went through a minute ago. Be prepared with backup technology in case of glitches. Should go without saying, but fully charged batteries are a must. So as you're participating in navigating a virtual networking event, hardware plays a role, software plays a role. Having a backup platform besides the primary always helps. Numerous times I've started an event on a Zoom call and ended up either on Microsoft Teams or Google Meets because of an issue with Zoom. Every once in a while it does freeze up, and having the ability to exercise options and testing prior is a really good idea. Providing the links to where we're going to meet next and exchanging that information by either text message or by email keeps the meeting, keeps the agenda intact. Only through practice and repetition will anyone become webcam friendly. So truly succeeding in virtual networking, seek out experts that can steer you toward the appropriate cameras, microphones, and other hardware. There's a lot of them available at very different price points. That's something that I have a lot of fun with when I have my events and my get-togethers here at the Tech Hub, is discussing what's new, what's working, what is becoming antiquated and no longer serving the online communication world. So that's always a fun conversation to have. So feel free to reach out to subject matter experts, videographers and photographers and folks that host these types of events for more information there. And be open to adjusting, because we're so used to in real life conferences, seminars, hanging out in hotel lobbies, that now the transition to a digital hotel lobby still very real and it's very handy to be able to do. It's convenient in a lot of ways. Instead of jumping on 2 planes and then a ship and then a taxi to get you to a meeting in China, let's say, and spending all that time for 1 or 2 meetings when you could, in a matter of minutes, make that connection virtually. In this slide, pay attention to the equation. Through practice and feedback, become comfortable with the new technology. Pushing buttons is a key here. As you would prepare for a face-to-face encounter, do the same here to counter nervousness. Only then can anyone truly get out of the no comfort zone and become successful at relationship building and establishing trust. It's through practice, familiarity, and getting comfortable in front of a camera. Your introduction is important. Make it catchy while keeping it professional. How many times have we seen someone use a canned introduction because their insurance company, not picking on insurance companies, of course, but an established corporation and say, this is your 30-second pitch, and you're not going to deviate from it. You're going to say it in this order, in this manner, and that's how you're going to share. Your introduction should be unique to you. Study keywords that identify with your product, your service, your invention, that which makes you you is really important here. Practice it frequently, because when you're online, it's going to come up frequently. People are going to want to get to know more about you, and the short and sweet always helps build bridges instead of drawing it out to where they get confused or they get lost in what does this person really offer? What is it that they're trying to present to me? So keep it short and sweet and professional. As you would prepare for a face-to-face, do the same here as well. So unique keyword descriptors that separate you from the rest, and corporate setup, again, don't work as well as throwing your own creative spin. Be mindful as well of certain words and phrases that may be acceptable here in the United States, but can potentially be insulting to other cultures. Research this when you have global participants in your group. Connecting with your network at a virtual event, be aware to take the opportunity to network with the subject matter experts and learn, grow, and collaborate. During these events, messages will be shared. Take advantage of short breaks to check your direct messages and your text messages as well. Be observant, take notes, see how the hosts run their programs. This is how successful virtual networking becomes successful. I, through time, have dabbled in several different online platforms and appreciate what functions and features each bring. unique elements, which is also important when you run into a situation that one platform freezes up on you, to be able to quickly move to a different location and still be familiar with the buttons that need to be pushed in order to accept participants, attendees, and adjust lighting, adjust sound, and things of that nature. Also, your camera setting and your microphone setting in one platform may not immediately transfer to the new platform. So you want to double check and make sure that the right cams and the right microphones are selected in each platform. Many ways can be used to network virtually. We highlight several here in this slide. Be tuned in to comments that are made during the event and after the event. Oh, sorry. Pay attention to mentions, introductions, and quotes that are used. Also, hashtags that are attributed to the event itself. Certain online groups have certain hashtags to identify themselves. And Wintrust has theirs, Lake County Tech Hub has theirs, local chambers of commerces and main streets also. Identify with that hashtag in order to tap into those conversations during events and after events. When folks share links, pay attention to those links. And also when posts are made, support those folks that are taking the time to put together content to enlighten your community and provide services for the benefit of small business development and economic development. We support each other in that way. We're going to be in a really good place, especially with the fact that we have delays in getting back to the standard, and we're living in a new normal where the virtual networking world is not going to go away anytime soon. So embracing the technology, being here today is a sign to me that many of you have embraced this knowledge and these platforms and are here to learn from us, learn from each other, and support each other through these times. Again, these news reports that take us well into 2022 is troubling, but being familiar with what's available in the world of the online media platforms is it's important for all of us. Building relationships and trust virtually buys you time to spend with family and loved ones. As I mentioned before, you could spend 22, and I've made the trip twice to Asia. It's 22 to 26 hours of a commitment for several business meetings, and then turn around and devote another full day to return home. So appreciate the convenience, embrace it, and build relationships here through these different platforms and getting to know each other and supporting each other's services, each other's offers. Somebody puts together a meetup group, attend, be a part of it, be a part of the conversation. The proper building of relationships results in more time spent with families and loved ones. To develop deeper connections with your online peers takes time and commitment. Smaller size online groups work well here when the goal is to attain a deeper understanding of the individual or the group needs. Know the impact players in your group, the subject matter experts that can provide information and solutions for the benefit and value of the participants, of all involved. Encourage those discussions. I know in my group, I have several folks that are well-versed in online media and video marketing and photography, putting together legacy books for families. I have folks that are in the world of interior decor, which took a big hit when all the hotels and all the resorts and public facilities shut down. So they went creative and staged online virtual rooms for these events, which proved very clever and kept tabs and kept them in touch with their clientele base. And in the trust virtually part of this yin yang set of slides, establishing trust occurs when engaging actively, participating in breakout sessions, chat rooms, answering questions or queries, offering advice when asked, and listening when with purpose and not dominating the conversations. Replacing an in-person network with virtual networking is possible as long as similar preparation and attention to details provided. Remember one thing, we're all here at the mercy of technology. If we treat it well, it'll treat us well. So pay attention to things such as staying current with your hardware, especially. Smartphones are a blessing. I remember clearly my days without one, and the big difference from then to now for the ease of connection with my network. And again, when online, establishing trust occurs, engaging actively, participating in breakouts and all that, it's never fun to have a connection issue that can impede progress or sales success. Know your equipment, know your functions, know your features and your limitations. Success in the online world takes work, and keeping current with technology is totally, totally worth it. Here's another example of a virtual networking event that was well run. This was a local Chamber of Commerce event that took place a little earlier this year. A group of subject matter experts were invited to share their thoughts and some data to an interested small business community. You may be familiar with some of the faces in this group. Lisa Meggs and Dane Morgan are a couple of really good friends that are involved with the Wintrust organization. We've got a president of the Chamber of Commerce. We've got community leaders. We've got president of Lake County Partners involved in this presentation as well. So these were invited individuals sharing reports on the economic development stage. This occurred because we all took the time to become known, to put it out there as to what our passion is, what we studied, what we prepared to share with our community. The event was very well attended because of the stay-at-home orders at that time were still in place. Now folks have a little more option because of the ease of the restrictions, but a lot of folks still would much prefer engaging in this manner. So I'm hoping that with these slides that were presented to you today, you get a better feel for some of the things to pay attention to in the world of virtual networking. There's a lot more that can be talked about with regards to the type of cameras, the type of microphones, the different types of platforms that are available, and which are a better fit for a small mom and pop organization or a much larger corporation. Again, bring the benefit, bring the value, participate, engage, and share. And when it comes down to it, folks pay attention to those that comment, to those that answer questions, to those that provide solutions to challenges and issues. Be that person. Put your best foot forward, exercising etiquette as one would in real life. People pay attention to these things. Remember to stay connected and also to follow up. It's more important than ever. Be interesting. Be the one you would want to get to know. Pictures and videos. Social proof is never going to go away, especially these days. If you have a smartphone, you have that ability to capture in real time experiences that you go through in your day-to-day activities for business. Be inviting, be engaging, turn strangers into friends, and then turn friends into customers. Balance your content with other relevant posts. Be that resource on your wall, on your channel, that not just toots your own horn, but that you're sharing other people's offers, other people's achievements, other people's successes. Be known for that. And at the same time, as always, be generous and genuine. Watch your followers list grow. And with that, I will open things up to Q&A. And I'm very much appreciating your time and attention this morning. I hope that there were some helpful tips and nuggets shared throughout these slides. In the world of virtual networking, when it's all said and done, it's a really good way to be able to stay connected. And that's very important these days, not just with the existing community that you're engaged with, but also to invite warmly new folks that are interested in your product, your service, your brand, and the things that you talk about. So again, name is Eddie Soto, Director of Lake County Tech Hub. I'm really grateful for this opportunity, and we have some time for questions and answers. So I'll turn it back over to, I believe it's Steve or Paul. Thank you again.
Hi, Eddie, and everyone. Can you see me? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few questions here in the Q&A, and we'll just go to those.
Very good.
From Christy Ramon, what is an example of a product that is antiquated and doesn't serve virtual networking any longer? If there is one.
That's a good question. A lot of products and services that served a brick and mortar before the internet really anchored and before our virtual platforms took place or established. Yeah, there are a few that would not find a creative way to offer their product and service online versus strictly through strictly through a brick and mortar location. Off the top, I can't think of too many that are antiquated, but that's a good question.
Okay, we'll move to the next question from Andrew Mers. What is your favorite video hosting platform to use?
It was Skype at the beginning. And for a lot of reasons, the fact that they were established and there was a familiarity to the platform, and you had the ability to have multiple people communicate and share at the same time. And then, of course, right around around this time last year, Zoom showed up. And even with initial glitches and brownouts, and then the security concerns that hit the news, Zoom peaked and then dropped a bit. And now, from my understanding, is they cleaned themselves up considerably with regards to the security concerns. And Zoom is there. Microsoft Teams lately has become a favorite based on the ability to share documents and share information. Always look for a platform that will provide multiple speakers the access to share documents and to share information in that way. Google Meets is also a good one.
All right, thank you, Eddie. A couple more here. When is the next face-to-face online networking event?
Face-to-face online networking. I don't know if that's a trick question, but we're having one right this minute. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
maybe they meant the next one that you're hosting.
Oh, there are 8 primary presentations that the Lake County Tech Hub together. This is one. We go across the gamut. There were a couple of questions regarding marketing, not just the networking component. So there are seminars that we have. There are workshops that we have where we get very deep in marketing, advertising campaigns, best way to set them up, identifying your ideal target, pricing, budgets, cultivating a new stream of followers to your brand. The actual branding component is really important. And then, For those that are more in the beginning stages, how to properly organize your documentation to support permits, licenses, and registrations when you want to take a business from an idea, a hobby, to a legitimate, respected, recognized business. So we have workshops and classes that address all of these topics. And we're warming up to in real life events. We're still basically taking appointments, appointments by appointment only to the public. We don't have our doors wide open just yet, but we do exercise the social distancing, the sanitizing. We have masks available for anyone that stops into the actual physical office. But as much as possible, we'd like to continue exploring ways to share our materials this way. That's why we're so appreciative of the time and the opportunity that Wintrust provided to us to host this event this morning.
We have a couple more. I think we still have a little bit of time. So this
Sure,
one's from Stephen. What new habits over the course of the pandemic would you say you are going to keep embracing or moving forward with?
I can take that humorous. I can. Here's what I'll say. I'm gonna expect to see more and more people pop in here with a sport jacket, a sweatshirt, and pajama pants. just because it's what we've been seeing, not just at your local supermarket, but also in meetups. So, actually, one thing that I know is a true takeaway that I'm really appreciative of having observed through the course of the last year are people are taking the time to get to know one another at a deeper level. When you ask a question, especially back in the day when you might attend a conference at O'Hare Airport at one of those hotels, and you've got 500 participants, it's like a hi, how you doing, nod the head, and keep on going, and maybe exchange a business card, and then just keep on going. I'm finding that through the virtual world, virtual networking allows people the opportunity to really get to know each other better. Better questions are asked, deeper questions are asked. People are not afraid to get into hobbies and interests and the unique things that make a person interesting. So I see that as a positive. We're spending more time asking better questions, and we're listening more to the responses and just taking it to a different level than what we did before. It's not as superficial, because you can't fake that when someone's with you online, because you can feel it. So for me, that's a big takeaway, and it just adds to the depth of the quality of conversations being had.
Absolutely. All right, we'll take two more here. Katie has two questions for you, Eddie.
Thank you, Katie.
Are most platforms free? And then secondly, you stated invite early enough to Zoom meeting. What is early?
Excellent. The first question again?
Are most platforms free?
Okay. Most platforms have an entry level that is free. Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meets, Slack, Skype, they all have an entry level version that is free of charge. Once you find yourself entertaining groups larger than, let's say, 10, usually the capacity will incur a small fee for the next version. Also, if you find your meetings going longer than 59.5 minutes, like in Zoom, the free version for Zoom in particular, for instance, will drop your meeting right at that moment. I think you'll get a warning with 10, a countdown from 10, let's say, and then it just immediately stops. So a lot of folks will spring for I think it's $149 or $199 for the year for the next level, where you can have groups of up to 99 and where you can have your meetings go way longer than an hour. I don't believe there's a limitation on time. But then it goes back to the question of, don't challenge the attention span of a mere mortal, because a lot of folks will start dozing off on you if the meeting drags on too long. But really good question. And then the second question again?
You stated invite early enough to Zoom meetings.
Thank you.
What is early?
I've made this mistake my own self, but I have a dedicated group that'll forgive me when I invite like early the morning of the day. Usually 3 to 5 days is good. If you know in advance, and here's the thing, a lot of these network platforms, virtual network platforms have username access, sometimes it's permissions granted access or password that's provided, an entry code. So as long as you don't change that code and you know you're going to be using that platform without changing the entry code, you can invite folks a week to 2 weeks in advance. Otherwise, if you know you're going to be changing that code, then I would probably make sure to follow up that same morning with, this is the meeting location, here's the link to join, and here's the entry code that's current. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of folks sitting in a waiting room that's not the right room.
Mhm. Right. Well, I think we'll conclude there. We're right around, right at 9:30 here, or very close to it. So thank you, Eddie. We appreciate your informative presentation and practical presentation.
I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Mhm. And of course, we at Wintrust would also like to thank Chicago Innovation for partnering with us for this webinar series, and thank all of you for joining us here today. And with that, we'll conclude. Thank you.